The first 7 days of a chick's life is what will make your business as a poultry farmer to be successful or to fail. So, on this podcast, I'm going to discuss with you guys the magic formula for chick development. But before we do that, please ensure that you subscribe. This is our first ever podcast, and like this video, comment below if you have any question or you want to engage with me. I'll be a host, Dominic, an animal scientist. So, what is this magic formula that I'm talking about that is going to help chicks develop well and have an almost 100% survival rate? This magic formula is built upon several factors that we are going to discuss. These factors ranges from chick sourcing, brooder preparation, the brooding process itself, what you're going to feed the chicks, the housing of the chicks, among other factors. By listening to this podcast, be sure that you are going to prevent chick diseases, deformities, stunted growth, and finally death. Because if your chicks will die the first week, you're going to experience losses and you're not going to get the benefit that the chick would have given you. Maybe if the chick was broiler, it may have given you meat, and if it was a layer chick, it would have given you eggs and meat. First thing first, if you're a poultry farmer and you want to start your poultry farming business, you have to source your chicks from a reputable hatchery. And you may ask yourself, how do you know that a hatchery is reputable? One of the best ways is by recommendation by other poultry farmers in your area. So after you have been told that a certain hatchery is reputable, what is the next step? The next step is to go there, book your chicks, and then after the chicks have been brought to you, you have to inspect. And you have to inspect several factors. These include whether the chicks have any deformities, check the legs if they are lame. Also, check if the chick is responding, whether the chick is active, and whether the chick has a pasted vent. So after you have inspected the health status of your chicks, most of the time the hatchery usually gives you 2 more extra chicks or 3 extra chicks in case one dies during transportation. So how are you going to transport your chicks? It is well advised to transport them in boxes, and please ensure that the boxes have some sawdust, because when the box does not have sawdust, your chicks may slide during transportation and that may make their legs be deformed. So now, because you have gone through chick sourcing, the other factors that you need to consider that will be part of the magic formula for chick development is brooder preparation. This should always be done at least a few days before the chicks arrive at the farm. So what are the factors to consider when preparing the brooder? First of all, we have to clear the house because of the previous batch that was there. And if your farm is new, you have to construct a very good house which has conducive environment for chick development. Always ensure that the house is well ventilated, it has ample supply of light, among other factors. And if this is your second batch or you have been doing poultry farming, first of all, you have to remove all the litter that is in the poultry farm. Also, after you have removed all the litter, ensure that you scrap even all the particles that may have sticked on the floor, and then remove all the spider webs, cobwebs, and dirt that may be on the walls and on the roof. After you have done that, ensure that you clean with plain water on the floor and side wall. And to ensure that the floors should be well cleaned, ensure that your floor is well cemented. So after cleaning the wall and rinsing with plain water, now you will have to disinfect the whole room. Now you are going to disinfect using jig or other kind of sprays such as Lysol. So as you will be disinfecting your side walls and floor, also ensure that you clean the feeders, waterers, chicken guards, and also disinfect them. And please ensure that you dry them in a sunny day. Also, you should give the loom a few days to dry, and as that will be happening, ensure that you restrict movement into that poultry unit. A few days after the loom has dried, now you are going to bring in fresh litter, and this litter should be at least paddy husk, hay, or groundnut husk. And the reason why I'm not saying that you should bring sawdust, you see, when the chick will be at the house, it may think that the sawdust is feed, and when the chick consume the sawdust, that may affect its digestive system. So it is well advised to bring litter that is of big particles so that the chick may not eat the litter. And always ensure that the litter is at least 2 inches in depth. After you have spread the litter on the floor, now you are going to disinfect all the litter because you may not be sure of the source. Some sources may be disinfected, so you are going to disinfect, but always ensure that you don't make the litter so wet. Just spray some disinfectant, and then now after a few hours, now you're going to spread the newspaper to cover all the litter. And if your chicken house is so big, you may face challenges. For example, if you want to heat up the brooding, if you are taking the brooding to be the whole chicken house, so it is well advised, just take a small part of the chicken house. For example, you can take the corner part, and then that is where you're going to do your brooding, because now there you're able to control the heat and you can easily heat up the area. If it is possible, always ensure that the brooder is rounded so that you can prevent the chicks going at one corner of the brooder, and just that may make the chicks to congest there and they may die due to suffocation. So if it is possible, always ensure that the brooder is rounded. So that means that it has no corners. The source of heat should always be at the center and the light should be from above. And ensure that you place the feeders and drinkers all around, and it is well advised to put at least one feeder for every 50 chicks and also one drinker for every 50 chicks. And it is well advised to get your heat source from a gas brooder or other kind of heat source such as the infrared bulbs. But you should know that charcoal burners, which may be used by most farmers as source of heat, the charcoal, when it burns, it produces carbon dioxide, and that may accumulate on the surface of the litter, and that's where the chicks are, and they don't want your chicks to breathe all the carbon dioxide because that may affect their growth and development. So it is well advised to get your heat source from a gas brooder or infrared bulbs. But also you should know that infrared bulbs may make your chicks to be hydrated. So if you're going to use infrared bulbs, ensure that you give your chicks enough amount of water so that they can remain hydrated, so that they can have enough water in their system for growth and development as they consume more dry feeds. To ensure that the chick have enough heat in their system, always ensure that the light source is always turned on 24/7. This light will help the chicks see where the feeds are so that they can go eat the feeds, and see where the drinker are so that they can go and drink the water. Also, as the chicks will be moving around, that will make their system to be more active, and also that may cause generation of heat because they will be active. Also, the feed source will make the chicks also produce more energy, because we know that when the feeds will be digested, energy will be produced or will be formed by the system. So always ensure that the light source is always turned on 24/7. So because now we have looked into the chick brooding, now let us look in what feeds are we going to give our chicks. The best feeds to give to your chicks are starter feeds. These feeds are well formulated to give your chicks all the essential nutrients that the chicks will require as they grow. Also, ensure that you give them ample supply of water. This water will accompany the feeds. As the chicks feed, they will have to drink water. And always ensure that there's water in the brooder or during chick development. And also ensure that during the first few days, ensure that you give your chicks glucose. And this glucose should always be mixed with water. Also, in the water, you'll have to add the vitamins, which will also be used by the chicks for their development. And this solution is what is usually given to chicks on the first day when they arrive at your farm. As the chicks will be drinking the water, chances are that the magazine will be wet. Also, the chicks will be pooping around, the magazine will be wet. So ensure that remove the magazines each and every day, or once you see the magazine is wet, ensure that you change that magazine. Even if it happens 10 times per day, you have to change the magazine, because you don't have, or you don't want your chicks to live in a damp area, because that may cause some sort of complication or death or disease. And by the 5th day, now there will be no need to put the magazines on newspaper, because now the chicks will have learned how to eat from the feeders. As part of the management of feeding, always ensure that you remove or clean all the drinkers and feeders daily, in the morning and in the evening, so that the chicks may have a fresh supply of feeds and water. For medication, ensure that on the first day, the chicks are vaccinated at the hatchery, and as you be bringing them onto your farm, you give them glucose, as I have said. Also, you give them vitamin, as I have said. And on the 10th day, ensure that you give them the Gumboro vaccine. The glucose should always be given on the first day in water, and from day 2 to day 7, ensure that now you mix the water with vitamins. So you have seen that the first day glucose, and then from day 2 to 7, vitamins. And from week 3 to week 5, we are going to put coccidiostats in water, so that you can prevent any chances of coccidiosis in the poultry house. Always ensure that the water that you're going to give to your chicks, the water does not have any chlorine, and the water should always be boiled and then cooled down, so that you can prevent any kind of bacteria or some sort of microorganisms that may be present in the water. So I hope that all these factors that I've told you here are going to help you have a successful brooding all week 1 of your chicks, because week 1 is very, very crucial in your poultry farming business. If you have reached into this part of the video, please tell me where you are watching from and what you may like me to cover next time in this kind of podcast. See you in the next one. Bye.